How's it going, everybody? Up to the next Marvel Rivals video. This is my lovely boyfriend, Heiko.
Hello.
And we are doing Captain America. Now, a little bit of background to explain why he looks like this. This Captain America woke up in the 2099 timeline.
Whoa.
And so that's where his costume comes from.
He took another dirt nap in the Arctic.
Nope, same one. He went under the ice in 1944 and woke up in 2099.
Oh, man, if it was culture shock before, it was like a whole new world then.
Yep.
All right, so let's see. Let's look at what they did for him.
I don't like the base Captain America design in this game. I don't like the futuristic tech armor. I think simple Cap is better. Or at least like simpler comic book Cap is better. But I'm prepared to hear some arguments in favor of this.
I was like, I didn't even get a chance. That's all. Well, my first impression is just like, I really like the saturation of the colors.
Oh, definitely.
And there's a really nice thing they did, I think, too, with like, it could have been just blue, red, white, and blue. Like, it could have just been, that was it. But they pulled in black and like a really dark gray, too, which to me almost feels like it's filling in for blue. So what feels nice about that to me is that, like, it feels like the top half is just so beautifully colorful. Mm-hmm. Because in my head, my eye, and I think it's because the value of the light and dark of how that color is pretty much identical to the dark gray or pretty similar to it. So my eye is sort of like making a jump that they're the same color when they're not. So it's just making the top half of this outfit feel just really, really pretty. Like, I just want to stare at like that beautiful blue color. Like, you're so beautiful.
Yeah, if they had this blue on not armor pieces, I would love it.
Yeah. I think the only thing that's a little off to me on the armor pieces is that I don't like the shoulder sections so much. They're a little high and bulky.
Yeah.
But when they're trying to make like a heroic figure and they want to make him seem like he's tough and armored and ready to take a hit, I think that's what they're trying to convey with that bulkier design.
Yeah.
I'm also a really fan of making the wings big, but I'm just a miscreant like that. I'm just like, they must have big floofs on their head. I'm the same way with Thor, and I'll stand by that with Captain America too.
You'll like what they did with Thor then.
I'm just like, I just love the big ear wings, and you know they're short and they work, but I think they're fun when they're a little bit bigger. The shield is really fun designed, like this cool animation on it. Which you said he's in the future, so that really fits the idea there. And without really making it too distracting either. That makes it feel like it's an interesting weapon that he could just fling around and that it would do some major damage. So that's really fun. Does that stay on his back most of the time like that, or is he just like stuck in an animation?
This is just when you zoom in on him. He carries it like this when he's actually in the game.
Okay, because I was looking at the front and backs of these designs a bit, because as we discussed in a lot of other ones, for the player, you're usually seeing the backside quite a lot.
Yeah, this is what you see.
Yeah, so yeah, again, that really beautiful blue color. There's kind of like a center circle point here, which I'm not sure what they're going with this one, because he's not really known for having jetpacks or anything that I'm aware of. I don't know if it's like a power cell for his armor.
Yeah, that's what really bothers me about the space future armor, is like, why? That's not Captain America.
Yeah. I don't know if I would have put that detail on. Maybe I would have like left it as like a white spot, or maybe another star, or maybe like a cool shape. But yeah, I feel like my eye might be getting drawn a little bit too much to that spot, just because it's too interesting. Mm-hmm. And it's not quite meshing, but it's not.
It's spinning a little. Do you see that? It's pulsating.
It's like animated. That's why I was saying it could be like an energy thing. He has some on his gauntlets too, so maybe they're just trying to repeat that design a bit.
Oh yeah, so he does.
You know, and like in there, that's just like kind of separating the space of the gauntlets and not just having it be a plain red thing. But it's not egregious enough that I'd say it was bad. But I don't know if one I would have solution words. I don't know if it's a solution I would have went with. And like there's a huge like divot on that star too, because they're like popping it up like this big thick, futuristic armor.
Yeah, you can't see the star much from here, but you can see the indent.
Yeah. So, you know, it's like it's not just stopping bullets, it's stopping energy blasts and cannons. Yeah, and like again, this is like they're putting most of the detail on the top of the outfit. They have like the stripes on the rib cage, and then when they get to the bottom half, they just have red boots with a little bit of white and gray accent on the bottom. It looks like, unless that's no, that's a highlight. I thought that was a white piece. So yeah, it's just black boots and red with a little bit of the little blue energy circle things, which again is just I think a motif they're repeating to do that cyber armor thing. But you're not a fan of, apparently.
Nope.
So if they did
well,
the same...
not for him.
Yeah, not
he
for him.
looks too much like Iron Man.
That would be hard to get away from if you're going to use a round circle. I guess they could have changed it to some other shape. Like maybe it could have been squares. Or
I think the shoulders...
energy lines.
I think the shoulders are a big part of the problem. Like I think getting rid of those shoulder pieces would... And just having it be like... a blue undertone there or something, or even just the black. I don't know.
Yeah, you're saying like just to kind of mesh it into one piece instead of like what is there like 4, 5 separate pieces?
Yeah.
Yeah, there's like 5 separate blue pieces, so it's kind of all broken up. They could have probably even used the lighter gray that they had on the bottom because that is a darker color. And a lot of their other designs, that darker color is a darker value to draw your eye up. But maybe in this case, it's just separating those shapes too much a bit. But overall, it's still pretty solid. It does what it's intending to do. And the colors separations are still really nice. I love that the red is just on the bottom half of the outfit. And then the top is like that. Like I said, it was the super bright blue because the color choices they're making with the pretty much neutral colors. All right, show me what they did with him.
All right, the recolor, Captain Mustard, which is actually from an alternate universe where he was part of an evil organization called AIM.
Oh no.
Captain AIM Erica.
Oh no. Now I feel bad because my first impression was like Captain Ukraine, and I'm just like, no.
Oh no.
But Ukraine's flag is so pretty. I usually love blue and yellow color schemes because even though they're not complementary, there's just something about the warm yellow and like the blue just feels good together. I don't know if they picked quite the bright yellow I would have used because like you said, it is very mustard-like, and they put it right next to like the most vivid sapphire blue they could find.
Captain Mustard is the polite nickname people have for him. I'm sure you can imagine the other nickname people have for him.
Yeah. And gosh, yellow can be a tricky color too, because usually when I design yellow, and I really do like to use in my own artwork, yellow, if you start to pitch it towards red sometimes and you keep it bright, sometimes you can get like these like mustard yellows, and they only really fit in other like color schemes that also have desaturated color schemes. So like if you ever seen like an autumn fall painting, it's usually like desaturated red, desaturated orange, desaturated yellow. That's about the only color schemes it tends to mesh well with. They took this color and then decided, let's put it with the most highly saturated blues you can possibly pick. And there's like 2 shades of blue. The star is like a cyan, and then the other blue is a highly saturated, more like a medium blue.
There's even 3 shades of blue. The darker blue.
And then the darker blue. But I was gonna say that one's not the highest saturated blue. There's like some darker shades of blue that are not at the highest saturation, which just means how bright or dull it is. So yeah, that's not talking light or dark. There's 2 different axes, but dull colors of dull blue, and then super bright blue, and then the yellow is not a bright yellow, it's a dull yellow.
Something this costume does that I wish the base costume did is his boots are all the same color.
Yeah.
Like I wish his boots in the default costume were all red.
Yeah, and I'm thinking they have done blue and yellow costumes in comics before, because that's Wolverine's whole deal. Mm-hmm. But I think they just needed to decide what shades, because I think Wolverine's is like bright yellow, but then the blue is usually like a darker blue.
Interestingly, the blue is in basically the same position as these bright blue stripes on Wolverine's costume.
Yeah, but I was just like thinking like how I would fix this design to not look like the wonderful nicknames that people have given it. And so like I'm thinking I would ditch the cyan, I would ditch the bright blue. I think maybe I would go make the star maybe the white color and make the bright blue maybe a dark gray like the on his belt, or maybe even black.
Hmm.
I think that's what I would do to make this not look so iffy. And I think even the effect on the shield, that blue effect, I think I would change that to a white or something along those lines. Something really light. Maybe even, well, I don't know if I'd go golden, but I think like there's like a different color we could go with. White or something. And I think that would do a lot to on this costume to make it mesh a lot better without, totally rewriting the game.
The white on this costume is used very well, I feel.
Yeah, like if you just like crop to just his head and only his head, you might be like, maybe, right? But once you hit that cyan star, it just immediately falls apart because
Yeah.
that is a color that has no harmony with literally anything, and it doesn't even match the star on the shield. I just realized the shield is still white.
Yeah.
Like I don't know, there's just some choices here that should not have been made.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe they should have done maybe a few more iterations and tooled around and then make a final decision. But we didn't.
This is what we've got.
That's what we get.
I've seen a couple people use this costume, and I have to think it's for the memes.
Yep. Out of the way. Here he comes. To piss on your day.
All right, up next, you remember the hell world that Hulk got sent to and had to become a gladiator? Cap got sent there at one point, too.
Yeah. I think I might have vaguely remembered this one because it might have been one of the earlier costumes. Because I looked at.
Oh yeah, this is one of his launch costumes.
Yeah, his launch costumes. I looked at some of the launch costumes because of some of the discussion and art with artists about the differences between this game's artistic design and some other Marvel games that maybe didn't take off as well. But this one I remember as being pretty fun, and yeah, I'm just admiring now because it's just a nice design. But to talk about it a little bit.
Oh, he's got the A on his belt.
Yeah, he got an A on his belt. The color schemes, if you look at where all the cool colors, all those blues are at, you notice that they're pretty much primarily on like his upper chest armor, on his hand there. And that hand's like mostly covered with the shield most of the time anyway. So really it's just like top half of the body is the only blue in the entire design. Everything else from like waist down is brown, red, gold. And then his skin color, which is a lighter skin color, so it's also a warm color. And then, gosh, and I just love that because they put the blue sash with the gold spikes on it, so like there's just this nice contrast. Like I said, I love yellow and blue color schemes. This is one where it uses it well. And if we're talking like color value too, like we have a bright blue, but you see it's like blended in to the desaturated blue, so we get a little bit of that pop of like fun bright color.
It almost looks like it's glowing, but in a good way.
Yeah, like it just feels like a nice gradient. And the gold color, if you notice, is not mustard gold. It's a very desaturated gold, which is matching that desaturated blue too. So they're not trying to conflict with each other for brightness. The bright yellow actually is in his hair. So that's where they decided to punch that saturation up. Because, the hair is much prettier. We don't want to, I mean, we want to admire his cool pauldron and gold medallion and spikes, but we don't want to be lost in them either. And then by the time you get to the gold accents on the lower half of the body, even on the bottom half of that pauldron too, like it's really getting dark, desaturated. It's almost kind of brown, gray, right? But we read it as gold, right? Mm-hmm. You would look at that and be like, he's got gold accents. But if we were like painting it, we were going to pick some browns, dark, and there's like a little bit of red. Stop moving. He's like moving as I'm trying to look, just. But when I talk about some of these color mixes, I say red. I mean like the smallest amount of red you can do. And this is one of those costumes I really like because they're mixing and painting and doing a lot of those subtle changes. That is really a staple of illustration and painting. which is why the art direction on this game is so nice, because it feels like someone took like someone's cool illustrated, comic book hero artwork and fan art or something, and just like said, all right, let's make it move and jump around and be heroic. I was going to take one last look, see if there's any fun details I might have jumped over. He's got some battle damage on like his medallion and even his face, actually.
Yeah.
Which really fits, like you said, with the setting, because he's in a gladiator world. What's kind of fun, though, is like he's all battle damage, but he doesn't look angry or grim. Like, he still feels like Captain America's spirits is in this character design. Even without him doing the little, send-off animation. He feels worn out and battled, but he doesn't feel like dispirited or mean or not himself.
I like the weird monster face sash he's got going on.
Yeah, it's like some kind of lizard skin, which is like making up the rest of his armor. Whether it's like a dragon or a crocodile or something, but yeah. And then the way it's stitched together. It's a fun detail, and like we were saying, like you see the back of the character so often. And they really kept with the blue is going to be on the top half, because even in his ponytail holder, like the tie on there, is also blue. Like, it's really just all his lower clothes that are the red shirt and everything else. I'll even have like a little bit of colors brought into the shield too, like little bits of painted on blue, red on there. It's just chef's kiss. This one is very good. No notes.
All right, up next, he has one MCU costume, despite having several costumes in the MCU that would have been pretty cool to have.
Okay.
It's the Infinity War one, where he's on the run.
Whoa, I was like, the animation that lead up to it was like disorienting. I thought the game glitched for a second. All right. Oh, that is a fun interpretation of that MCU outfit. Because it does have like the way the MCU kind of like fragments their armor. Like they do like kind of like panels almost, it looks like. Because, in the movie they can sew up a whole outfit and then they can kind of reuse it so they can be a little bit more detailed. But then it's still got the really Marvel rival style in it too. It's like a really nice mix because they're not losing that MCU style. They're just incorporating it in a really fun way. And again, some of the battle damage, he's on the run, he can't fix up his suit, so he's wearing some holes through through the blue sections there.
You know what this does that I just was able to put into words? He doesn't have the big shoulder plates.
Yeah, he does not have the cybernetic shoulder armor plates that you disdain in his base outfit. But yeah, and then this is some of the other Marvel rival style that I keep picking up on, is that they're using a lot of lines. And what I'll say is they're like repeated lines because they're still keeping the overall shape. I'm going to use the blue section of like the top part of his armor as an example just to let people know where to look. But we can see that it's following the shape of the pec, but like the lower half you can see there's like 3 little panels of lines. And they're just using some little repeated lines. But they're using everything about that to follow the shape of the body. And then they're using the big shapes in like that brown and white section on his abs and rib cage. Those are separated out to follow the shape of the muscles, but then they're adding additional detail and lines. So they make the big shape first, and then they come back and they kind of do these lines to kind of give it its own texture. And then they plan this out in such a precise way. So we got like the big blue panel, almost no texture, the brown texture, a little bit of texture, and then the white one are like very like measured squares, squares with like little edges cut off, and then square again. It's like a very regular, easy to read pattern, so that nothing on this design is really over designed to the point it's distracting, but it's designed just enough that it's going to lead your eye to where you need to go. So you have like the big brown shape is going to like draw your eye down and back up. The big blue shape is going to make sure you're not getting lost in too many detail and you have somewhere to rest before, you move in to investigate a more detailed area. And I love the texture on the star too, and the fact that they enlarged it too, because it just, again, is pulling all the shapes of the natural body together and just creating really fun sections on these costumes. Man, this is still really nice. I want to step back a little bit and see the full design so we can get a look at his legs and things too. Yeah. Oh, there's some nice lead up. There's a thing here I can point out near the belt. So we have that brown, some of those brown shapes I was talking before where they're leading down, they're shaping the pecs. And then it hits the belt, which is a nice horizontal line to kind of keep us from flying away too much. But instead of connecting the brown line on the pants to the brown line on the suit, like some of the other ones have done, they left what's called a broken line. What that means visually is they leave a gap, but in our heads, because we love patterns, we connect that line anyway.
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of like a wee, rest, wee. But we still make that connection, so it makes this really lovely vertical that's following the shape of his rib cage, abs, then down through the leg. And when I talk about like the eye moving through visual patterns, is like, again, we have a way, if we started looking at the bottom, we have that line to lead us up. And any horizontal lines are just really nice stop gaps to just make sure those lines don't become too strong and just kind of lead us straight off the design entirely. And then, gosh, I love the boots. Again, they're doing a thing where they have a lot of detail in those boots, but they're all basically the similar value. Every time I talk about something that I'm pointing out, he's just like, no! Throws his shield down so you can't see the boots. These characters are so salty. But I was going to say the value is pretty much the light and dark of them is exactly the same. It's just a little bit slightly more saturated brown next to a duller brown. So they're able to add a metric ton of detail, but not have it to the point where it's going to distract you and make it so you're not paying attention. Now the parts like on a shield, like the shield is supposed to be a cool item, that contrast is a lot higher than the shoes. Still pretty much the same density of detail, I would say, with the number of lines and the repeating patterns. But now the contrast is going to make us look at that because it is a cool item and it's one of his battle gear. So it's something we should look at least for a little bit. And yeah, that's nice too. It's like a little bit of the light on the top and then a big band of kind of similar in the middle for that shield. Nothing like too crazy, but just enough to be like, yeah, I want one.
It's a Wakandan piece, if you'll recall the movie.
Oh, I can see it now that you pointed out because it does kind of have that kind of similar. They say that words. They share the similar, what they call visual language. Like they design one thing, and then once we get used to seeing it, when we see it again, we start making the connection of like, oh, that looks visually similar. Therefore, they're the same thing. Which, Wakanda is such an interesting movie to dig in design-wise. Go find like a video to watch it about it if you want, but there's tons of people who've written about it. But they'll talk about all the African influences from all across the continent that they pulled to make this sort of like global African like hidden society. And so, like they pull in modern too. So they're pulling some like modern design. So they want it to feel like it has the heart of all these cultures. It's very cool. Then you got like a little belt on the back. Again, they're using the lines along the shoulder blades to make a big, broad, heroic back. But then they're kind of making sections by using the belts. So we still have this really nice shape. They're all so shapy. I'm going to say shape a lot. But it is so shapy. And they do it so well. It's like, gosh. I mean, I wouldn't say anyone has to go this detailed with their character designs, but if you want to design some heroic characters or something on your own, this would be a good resource to just make some awesome designs because they're so good at it. All right, I talked a lot about this one.
It's a good. Hey, talk a lot about them.
It is a good one though. I really like this one, and it's like I was talking about, like you were talking about Wakanda. I was talking about MCU, and it's pulling a lot of different influences and pulling it off really well, and you can tell, like because Marvel Rivals kind of has defined its own style. So to incorporate that and then pull in like the Wakanda and pull in the MCU and still make that recognizable is just a really good job on the part of the artist that did the design work.
Yeah, they've adapted the MCU costumes masterfully. Like you've seen a few of them.
Yeah, we did Scarlet Witch. No, not Scarlet Witch.
Black Widow.
Black Widow. I say I'm confusing my redheads. Well, yeah, we did Black Widow earlier, and she had the white suit from the MCU, and yeah, and it's cool because it was borrowing a little bit from her rival's outfit, but it's done in a way that feels like it's like an MCU outfit too.
Yeah.
And MCU actually had pretty good outfits in general. Sometimes I feel like sometimes they got a little too plain, but it's like it's a movie and they only got so much budget, so I'm like not gonna say they should have done one thing or the other. But yeah.
I think the really nice thing about the MCU outfits in general, and some of them fall into this pitfall, but most of them don't. You remember how in like the early 2000s and the late 90s, superhero movies were ashamed to be superhero movies, and you'd have like this black tactical, super serious, we're cool now outfits instead of their classic looks.
Yeah, they had to have like realistic belts and items and stuff stuck on them.
Yeah, like in the first X-Men movie, they're all dressed in jet black, including Wolverine. But you look at Deadpool and Wolverine that came out just like a year or two ago, and you've got Wolverine in the classic look from the comics, and it looks great because Deadpool and Wolverine is not ashamed to be a superhero film. And most of the MCU films are also not ashamed to be superhero films.
Yeah. I don't think I would say all the MCU outfits are simple. I would say maybe some of them are. I'm not going to pick examples because it's been ages since I watched any of them. But I think that was more of a result of the movies that did try to hold themselves back to that more realistic value. Because some of the other ones are just awesomely designed. Like, I love the Captain America one. But what I was trying to get at is that sometimes, like, they get a little bit too held back. But I will say they're never over-designed, which is good, because I would hate to see an over-designed outfit in one of the movies. That'd be awful. We'll get, like, the Batman nipples all over again. I'm like, I know it was a Roman gladiator thing, but I mean, it just didn't work, okay?
All right, now we have his Hellfire Gala outfit, which is based on a Hellfire Gala outfit from the comics.
Ooh. That's slick.
I don't like his shield. I think it's too gray.
Yeah, okay. They whisper over here, the shield.
I should have said that to be picked up by the microphone. I was whispering for comedic value. I don't like the colors of his shield.
You know, it's going to be really funny on playback if the whisper comes across anyway.
Yeah.
I'm calling you out, but you're also right. Because
this is his classic shield, and I love that, except it's colorless. And I hate that, and it's so disappointing because this is the only costume he has the classic shield in so far.
Yeah. I mean, what I was struck by first is just they got this sheen on that outfit, like the striped suit, that feels like satin, and it is so pretty.
Mm-hmm.
It was so pretty. I wasn't even looking at the shield because I was just like, beautiful, beautiful color on this outfit. And I bet if we get close, we'll see some of that hand painting stuff that we saw on like the Hulk, where like they have like some orange pop on that collar.
Mm-hmm.
That's really nice. And then if you look, there's a desaturated pink on the edge of that collar, which there's a little bit of lighting on it too, but that pink is baked in too, where, you know, it's just playing around with the saturation just to create variety, which gives that color more punchiness. Because if they just had it kind of flat or even just one or two, and that's like a thing too, if you just use only the saturated colors, it's not as punchy as if you sneak just a little bit of desaturated. Because somehow our eyes just look at that and go like, oh, it's like 10 times brighter now. Because we have a kind of a comparison that tells us that this color is super bright now because that dull color is added into the mix.
Mm-hmm.
And then the blue is really nice too. I think they did a little bit of a darker as that went down, like they've done on a lot of their other designs.
Yeah, that fades down into darker navy blue.
Yeah. But like for two reasons. Like one is that visual interest to get you to look to the top of the heroic character. But the other one is just generally lighting. When you're standing, just in general, the light hits you and you shade yourself with your own shadow essentially. And just in general. So like in any drawing or photo or anything, generally the bottom half of the body is darker. So that's just the design supporting reality. Which in many cases makes us, you know, fall into the drawing more because we start getting immersed because it's what we expect to see. Oh, and there's just like a tiny bit of texture on the suits collar. If you spin it just a little bit, you'll see it kind of pop in. Keep going. This is the black part. See it? It's like a
Oh yeah.
checker thing. Yeah. Just a little bit of texture, because most of this design is like super flat. You know, as far as texture wise, there's not like a lot of variety there. So it's like just a teeny bit of texture on this outfit. And then like no pink tie. So
That's a plus.
the cravat is wonderful. And, you know, a little bit different from a tie. You know, and I think it also, the nice thing about choosing that as a design is that it makes the whole shoulders still feel super broad. Because I feel like usually the purpose of a tie in a traditional outfit is you tie it, and then the tie points down to basically your crotch. So, like, the ideal length is like it ends right at your waist, is for what a formal tie should do. So by having not a tie but a cravat or a handkerchief there instead, it's leaving that chest super open. It's like pushed open by how, you know, large and broad he is, and then it's just absolutely supported with the collar of the outer jacket too. So like all of that is just shaped in a way to just make him as big and broad and heroic as he can possibly be. It's super nice.
I love the star on his lapel.
Yeah, and it's like a little bit of a letter A and a little bit of a star, and
Oh, it is.
but it's like upside down, at least to me anyway. But yeah, it's abstract, so it feels like a little bit of a fancy design, but it's right on point with all his, you know, normal kind of iconography. Couldn't say the word. Oh, he also has A's on his buttons.
Yep.
I wanted to see if we could possibly see his rings, but he might not move in a way where we can actually see them.
He'll have to salute, I think.
Yeah, but it's kind of like, it looks like a signet ring kind of situation. I don't think it's going to let us get a good look at those.
Yeah.
But still pretty cool. Yeah, let's see, he's got nice formal shoes. Let's look at the back, just see if there's things there. Oh, nice. Yeah, that's kind of a nice idea with the stripes there. Because it could have just went like plain jacket, because it is a formal jacket, but instead they got, again, some lines to reinforce the body. And I love that cinched in line to the shoulder blades, so it goes in and then down. So that just makes him look like he has a smaller waist to, again, give him Dorito shoulders. And yeah, it's a really nice view. I think with the shield, like, I can kind of see what they were going with the shield, because it kind of almost looks like a giant ring, you know, because you get that, like, plain color metal ring. But since it's so big, it does create kind of like a huge dead spot in an otherwise extremely colorful, vibrant outfit.
Yeah, it's so out of place.
Like, I feel like having one of like the movie shield where it had like a lot of silver but a little bit of the red and blue. I think that would have looked really awesome with this outfit they gave him.
Yeah, it's a real shame.
Yeah, and I think I pointed this out in a lot of other outfits, but again, you can see some of the little artifacts that are adding like more red, like there's little red scratchy marks on his sleeves.
Mm-hmm.
And they're just pulling in more of the color from the other parts of the outfit to create harmony throughout, and just add, again, that sketchy illustrative style to it. But yeah, this one is a good one. I like it.
Okay, so he has one more costume that is in a weird place because it's not available in game anymore, and I can't look at it in game, but I have brought it up on rivalskins.com. So what we're going to do is I'm going to show you the MVPs for these costumes, and then we'll look at rivalskins.com, the Galactic Talon.
Okay.
Let's give him his default costume for the default MVP.
Yeah, fun.
Let's go with the Gladiator one.
Oh, fun.
MCU. I don't like this one that much because it's a very defensive one.
Yeah, but I feel like they were trying to pull from the action of the movie.
Yeah.
Where he's like fighting his way through an army of opponents, but he can't be stopped. Dun, dun, dun. So yeah, it's less of the victory and more of the pursuit of victory.
Yeah. And here's the Hellfire Gala one.
Hey, it's the Hellfire from the Hellfire Gala. Oh, that's fun. I feel like they should have had something like that for his default. Because I like when they do the jump and they do the landing.
Yeah.
And the fire feels like it's very Captain America-y. You know, since his whole comic book history is like World War II era. Alright.
Alright.
Oh, what about the last one? We had the anti... We can't forget him! The yellow one?
Oh, that's a recolor. He doesn't get his own.
He doesn't get his own?
I can show you. I can show you the default one with Captain Mustard. Hang on.
Gotta have Captain Mustard. There he be.
There he be.
Sorry, he was the evil Captain America, so I wanted him to have his own evil, like you know, animation. You know, him in the corner going.
Okay, so the Galactic Talon costume, like the Black Panther Galactic Empire of Wakanda costume, it was 3 Season 0 costumes, one for Cap, one for Black Panther, one for Hawkeye, that are Intergalactic Empire of Wakanda themed. And this is Cap's costume.
Whoa. Oh, they have video too, okay. Well, we do have the ears I asked for. But somehow they made him look like a mecha bunny.
Yeah.
I think it's the color white on the face that's giving that vibe. But it is very animal-like. Which I suppose if it's Wakanda themed, it's not totally off base. But very interesting. Also, interesting idea that they decided to put the light colors on the legs and the helmet, but all the dark colors are right in the middle of the body. Which has been a bit antithetical from what they've done most of the other times. And usually they don't go up that high. Usually it's just the lower half of the leg will be that secondary value. Huh. I still kind of like it though. I feel like it's something like a little off on the balance because I feel it's really leg heavy. Which if he was attacking with his legs, I'd be all for. But you know what I mean? Like it feels like he should like start like roundhouse kicking somebody.
I do like that he has bird claws on the back of his foot too.
Yeah. And I do think having the flag decal on the sides is really nice because it's kind of staggered. If you look at it. Might have to play it again. But yeah, you see the staggering. And that red outline on the center star looks really good.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
I like the laser exhaust ports on his shoulders.
Yeah, it definitely has like a very futuristic style. Yeah, I feel like my only gripe with it is the legs. Just because they're all so light and the rest of the design is so dark. I feel like that either needed maybe some red accents or gold or something to break it up a little bit. Like maybe if he had like gold kneecaps or gold outlines on the front. But that's the only thing I think I can complain about on that one. It's a fun design. It's really departs from his other designs. But it does feel very fun and heroic, and I don't think I'd hate it if I got to see a Captain America like that.
I don't think I've ever actually seen this one in game. It's pretty rare at this point because it was before the game really blew up, and well, I guess the game blew up pretty immediately, but it went out of the store on like December 27th or something, like 3 weeks after the game launched. And before I started playing, yeah.
So yeah, unless you were there day one, you probably didn't have much of a chance of getting that one.
Yeah. And I believe we can see the MVP.
Oh, cool. Yeah, that's rad. I feel like the MVP makes me like it more.
Let's watch that again full screen.
Yeah. You know, I think what I would have changed, because I was talking about how the legs were bothering me so much. I think I would have put a lot of light color on the arms,
Hmm.
just so like he felt a bit more balanced. 'Cause I think it was like that small, medium, large thing. We have like large, and then we have like a bunch of medium, but there's no small. So I think if they just had a small area of that lighter color, it would feel pretty balanced to me. But yeah, that's Captain America. Pretty cool.
Yeah. Which one's your favorite?
Oh gosh, let's see. Let's go back to the costumes page on here so I can remember. And I'll remember that we have a mecha mecha captain. All right. So we had OG, MCU, Gala. Oh man, there's so many good ones to choose from. But I really, really like the Gladiator one quite a lot.
I think my
Yeah.
favorite of the 6 is the Gala one, but the Gladiator's pretty cool.
Yeah. I think the only reason I'm not picking Gala is because the shield doesn't match the way it should.
Yeah, that's the big sticking point for me.
But this one, the shield matches really good. And there's like a fun story with the way the armor has like that back uh, detail on it. And the color scheme is just perfect. Like there's nothing to change here. Everything's tightly controlled. And I just admired how well designed it is. But man, that's not an easy choice because the MCU one and the Gala one are also really well designed too. So yeah, I know I said it so quickly, but that was a really close race for me. It's really like minor detriments on the other outfits that made me pick this one over the other really great choices.
Well, cool. And that's Captain America. That's where we're going to stop for the day because we've got some other stuff to do today. And this went a little longer than we expected, but in a good way.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun, and I'm glad that Will talked me into it.
We will be doing the rest of the roster, just probably not immediately, because we're in the middle of moving me from Maine to Nebraska. But I'll have these uploaded. Well, by the time you see this, I'll have them all uploaded. Yeah, we'll get to, let's see, who's next? Cloak and Dagger next.
Fun.
So, yeah, see you